This is the story of a boy born out of wedlock, who never had the privilege of knowing his mother. It is a story of love denied, of greed that swallowed compassion, and of betrayal that bled into the soil of inheritance. It is also a story of delayed justice, where time, no matter how long, never fully erases the footprints of evil. In the small village of Umadam, nestled in the eastern part of Nigeria, life revolved around land. Land was wealth, land was identity, and land was survival. Families measured their worth by the stretch of soil they could claim, till, and pass on to their children. Into this village, a boy named Chibiz was born under circumstances already marred by whispers. His mother, Amara, was a beautiful but unfortunate young woman who fell in love with a man from another community. Their union bore fruit, but the man vanished before Chibiz's birth, leaving Amara to face shame alone. Worse still, Amara died giving birth to him. The boy was left in the care of his aging grandfather, Papa Nana, a respected farmer whose wrinkled hands had known nothing but hard work. Though people in the village mocked Chibiz for being a child born out of wedlock, Papa Nana loved him fiercely. "Your mother's spirit lives in you," he would say, patting the boy's head as they sat under the mango tree. "Don't mind what people say. You are my blood." Chibiz grew up without much, but he grew up loved. He was shy, hard-working, and carried an innocence that even hardship could not steal. But while Papa Nana poured love into him, not everyone in the family welcomed his presence. Amara had a brother, Pastor Obinna, a man who wore the cloak of holiness on Sundays but harbored shadows in his heart. To the villagers, he was a man of God, preaching repentance and salvation at the village Pentecostal church. But those who knew him closely whispered of his greed and his ambition. Pastor Obinna believed strongly in one thing. Land meant power. But his father, Papa Nana, had not favored him in matters of inheritance. Out of quiet rebellion against Obinna's arrogance, Papa Nana willed a significant piece of his farmland, a fertile stretch near the stream, to Chibiz, the grandson. "Obinna has enough," Papa Nana told the elders before his death. "Let this boy, who has nothing else in this world, have this land. It is his mother's bloodline that I honor." This decision planted a seed of bitterness in Obinna's heart. To him, it was an insult. How could land that should have bolstered his wealth be given to a boy born out of wedlock, a boy with no father, a boy he considered a disgrace? Yet, for a time, he kept quiet. A boy becomes a man. By the time Chibiz turned 19, he had become a young man. Though poor, he was proud of his land. He farmed it with diligence, planting yams, cassava, and maize. The small income sustained him, and sometimes he sold extra crops at the market. The land was not just soil to him. It was identity, a reminder that despite losing his parents, he was not entirely forgotten. But Obinna watched with envy. He had already sold most of his own inheritance and lived lavishly on the proceeds, investing in cars and houses in town. Yet his appetite was insatiable. He wanted Chibiz's land. He wanted it desperately. Repeatedly, he approached the boy. "Chibiz, sell the land to me," he would say. "You are young, what do you know about farming? I can give you money, and you can start a business." Each time, Chibiz shook his head. "No, uncle. This land is all I have. Grandfather gave it to me before he died. I cannot sell it." Those refusals fanned Obinna's hatred into flame. The plot. The pastor's heart darkened with greed until even his Bible verses rang hollow. He could no longer bear to see Chibiz thriving on the land that, in his mind, rightfully belonged to him. One night, as harmattan winds whistled through the village, Obinna sat in his room staring at the flickering flame of a lantern. His wife had gone to bed, his children asleep. He whispered to himself. If the boy is gone, the land will return to the family. No one will question it. He has no father, no mother. Who will fight for him? His decision was made. The murder. It was a moonless night. The village lay in silence, broken only by the distant croak of frogs. Chibiz had finished tending his farm and returned home, his small mud house dimly lit by a kerosene lamp. He was preparing to sleep when he heard a knock. "Who is it?" he asked, suspicion tugging at his voice. "It is me, your Uncle Obinna. Open the door." Chibiz hesitated but finally unbolted it. Obinna entered, his face unreadable. After a few minutes of empty conversation, the pastor stood, feigning departure. But as Chibiz turned to close the door, Obinna struck. A knife plunged into his side. "Uncle!" Chibiz screamed, staggering backward. The betrayal stung even more than the blade. Obinna stabbed again, and again, whispering hoarsely, "The land is mine." But Chibiz, fueled by desperation, ran outside, blood soaking his shirt. He screamed into the night. "Help me! My Uncle Obinna, he has killed me!" "Obinna, the pastor!" Neighbors rushed out, their lanterns bobbing in the darkness. They caught sight of the boy collapsing to the ground, his voice weak but clear enough to seal his uncle's fate. "My uncle killed me because of the land." With those words, Chibiz drew his last breath. Flight. When Obinna realized the boy had exposed him, he panicked. He fled into the night before the villagers could gather the courage to act. The next morning, the village mourned. Women wailed. Men clenched their fists in anger. They buried Chibiz with heavy hearts, knowing justice had slipped away in the dark. Obinna disappeared, leaving his wife and children behind. Some said he crossed into another state. Others believed he fled to Cameroon. No one knew for certain. And as years passed, the tragedy faded into memory, spoken only in hushed tones whenever land disputes arose. 16 years in hiding. For 16 years, Obinna lived like a fugitive, though he built a new life elsewhere. He changed his name, started a new congregation in a distant town, and once again wore the cloak of a man of God. Yet his heart was never at peace. Each time he saw a boy with youthful eyes, he remembered Chibiz's scream. Each time he touched soil, he remembered the land he had killed for but never enjoyed. But he convinced himself he had gotten away with it. Until one fateful day. The encounter. It was a hot afternoon in the bustling city of Onitsha. The market was crowded, filled with traders, buyers, and the noisy rhythm of commerce. Obinna, now older and with streaks of gray in his beard, was walking through when a voice froze him in place. "Is that not Pastor Obinna of Umidam?" Two men, middle-aged, had spotted him. They were once youths in Umidam, present on that night 16 years ago when Chibiz cried out. "That's him. The one who killed his nephew." Obinna tried to turn away, but it was too late. Word spread quickly. A call was made to the police. By evening, he was in handcuffs. The trial. The news spread back to Umidam like wildfire. Villagers gathered, whispering, "Justice has finally come." The trial was long. Witnesses recounted that night. They spoke of how they saw Chibiz stagger out, bloodied, naming his uncle as his killer. Obinna tried to deny it, claiming it was all lies, that he had been framed. But the evidence of his flight, his sudden disappearance, and the testimony of the villagers was overwhelming. The judge's voice echoed in the courtroom. Obinna Nana, for the brutal murder of your nephew, this court hereby sentences you to life imprisonment. The aftermath. As he was led away in chains, Obinna's shoulders slumped. For the first time in his life, he felt the full weight of his deeds. The villagers of Umadam gathered at Chibi's grave, their voices united in prayer. Though justice had come late, it had come nonetheless. And in the soil where blood had once cried out, there was now silence, not of forgetfulness, but of closure.